Hello, uranium friends. We're going to start right off with a monthly look at the uranium futures chart. Just a quick check-in to see where it stands because we know that spot has kind of just been hovering around $50 and not doing much. So here's your monthly chart of the futures, and nothing red flaggy at the moment. I mean, we did have a nice little pullback here, but again, it's just as we zoom in, we're going to see it's just riding this 12 EMA, and it's kind of battling the 200-day moving average here. So it's in that spot where it's just chopping around. So we can see that, right? So there's months of just sideways action after this really kind of like a significant drop from 63 all the way down to 46. So $20 drop. But that's the deal on the monthly. This is a very thinly traded futures contract. It's not the greatest representation, but at least we see. We have this on the volume profile. We have again, it's on top of this what we would call the point of control here. So where the most volume and where the most contracts have traded, it's above that. So it's a little bit of a good sign. So we're really just watching this dynamic here of just making this little slow curl up. And that's kind of where we stand there. Okay, so into URNM. So URNM is just doing what URNM. It's really just a sideways chop, and it's been that way for months, right? We are contending again with this 200-day moving average, and we're just catching a lot of fake outs, right? So even when it gets over, it just kind of pulls right back to it. So that's going to be a little bit of a signal that there's a change. I mean, we need to take out this 200-day moving average and hold above it. So ideally, what you want to see is you want to see something like this that happened back here in August, right? So it got through it, came back and back tested it, and it held. And then it went on to make another new high. So other than that, this 200-day moving average has really been the issue for URNM. But right now, again, I'll say this over and over. It's a $61, base of support that this thing is just bouncing off of, right? So we've seen these big red bars turn into decent run-ups, and then we've seen them turn into decent pullbacks. So it really what it comes down to is that we are in a range. We're stuck in a range about 61 to 71. It's a $10 range. So, I mean, the way I approach this thing is that anytime I get down into these low 60s, I kind of add a little bit of a position. And anytime I get up towards this 200-day average, I mean, that's where I'm kind of taking a little bit off. And it's nothing's going to change on that trading plan as far as I'm concerned until we see this 200-day moving average just kind of get taken out and then held, right? So as expected, we've had a decline in volume for the holiday week. Nothing crazy. We do have this EMA stack here that we have to get through, and this volume profile over here, it's choppy. I mean, there's a lot of it that's acting as support for us, yeah, but we still have to get through these chop zones. And of course, uh, this high volume area, of course, lines right up with the 200-day moving average. So that's kind of where we stand there. All right. CCJ on the daily. It's making a decent little run up off of this last pullback here. I mean, it held this low, which is a good sign, right? And it's kind of gotten over these EMAs. But again, we got the 200-day moving average. That's a little bit of a way. At this point, I'm expecting at some point to see some sort of pullback. But I'm thinking that I'm hoping that this 2257 holds. So what the most likely scenario is a daily high or low. But we'll see as it plays out. Okay. But that's where CCJ is right now. But it's at least it's gotten over some of these EMAs, and you got this 5 EMA curling back up and crossing over this 12 EMA again, which is a good sign. But we've seen it before. We've had these fake outs, so this is again, it's just sideways action. Everything that's going on in the space, for the most part, is sideways action. There's a couple anomalies that we're going to talk about, and they're smaller names. I'm sure you all know who they are, but that's kind of the deal here. I mean, let's take a look at the weekly here. Yeah, the weekly is just sideways action. It's in an EQ. Let's take a look at the monthly. Yeah, I mean that's just basically what it is. Everything is sideways here, and it's to be expected. I mean, we kind of know, we can tell by the action. It's not a lot of trading going on in the space, and there's not a lot of buyers, and there's not a lot of sellers. So sideways. UUUU had a pretty decent pullback on this daily chart, and again, this is what we don't want to see. We'd like to see the 200-day moving average hold. I mean, it had the back test here, and it just lost it, and then it regained it again, and then it just lost it again. So it's the trend right now is up. This was a little bit red flaggy, but it did, at least it didn't take out the 646. Now, if we look at this, just want to show you the CCJ UUUU ratio chart, and you'll see that CCJ now recently is outperforming. UUU has been outperforming here, right? And this was when CCJ had their announcement and everything. So UUU was outperforming as this was coming down, and now CCJ is starting to outperform on UUUU. So UUU Energy Fuels bulls want to see this start to break down again. So you could almost say, hey, maybe there's a little bit of a rotation going on between CCJ and UUU. So for that ratio chart to start pulling back, you should see that this UUU daily will start moving up. But again, we are contending with the 200-day average. We have a pretty significant volume profile block that we have to get through over here. But again, it's really sideways action. This is a little bit more positive because I like to see we have a little bit of an upward sloping trend here. Weekly. Yeah, it depends if you call this a pivot, which it looks like a bit of a pivot to me. We have this weekly uptrend that is intact. So 646 is really the spot to hold for us right now, and that'll be good. So nothing horrible on UUU right now. This was a little bit of a stiff pullback, but it's not the end of the world. Next gen NXE. Yeah, it's again, this is one of those. We keep talking about this 200-day moving average, and until it's no longer a factor, it's still a factor. It always will be, right? So we want to be above it and stay above it. Bullish above, bearish below. So, but now what we've seen, again, we've taken it out, and we're probably going to be looking for a back test. But, you can look at how this thing handles the 200-day, and yeah, it takes it out, comes back for the retest, and doesn't do very well. Little breakout here, immediate pullback. Breakout here, immediate pullback. Breakout here, immediate pullback. So again, another breakout of the 200-day moving average, and we'll see where it goes. We need to see the back test up to 200-day moving average, and we need to see it hold. So what is the difference then, maybe of these 200-day moving average tests? Well, the difference is that look at where the 12, this red line is. Look at where the 12 is compared to the other spots. Okay, so the 12 is making its way up to the 200-day. So over here, it's been much further away. So it's it's starting to make its little press, shall we say? But that's nothing it's nothing actionable at the moment. For me at the moment, 409 is the key level. Anything above that is good news. And to me, it looks like we're going to be looking for a daily high or low, and I'm going to be interested in trying to grab a daily high or low position. I have a position already in this, but I'd like to add to it. So I'm going to be looking in this 420 area to see if I can add to my position. Fission uranium. So, well, you know what? Let's go to Fission 3.0 first, because that is the talk of the town for now. So I have the Canadian ticker up on the right, and I have the United States ticker on the left, the OTC name. So yeah, we've had one heck of a move, right? And this was on stellar drill results. Supposedly the radioactivity has was off the charts, like the meter couldn't even read it. If you're not following John Quakes on Twitter, I would suggest you do it. Search John Quakes and search him and follow him. He's been posting about this dynamic here. So it's a huge volume, huge bar. It's not something that I'm I have no position here, and maybe I might take a small speculative position if I get a decent pullback. Otherwise, I'm not really interested in this name, even though it's had this run. This could turn out to be a very fundamental, distinctive change for the company, and which is fine. You know, if you, it's just such a low volume name and such a low liquidity name that it's hard for me to even mess with it. So we're looking at the daily here, and it's had one heck of a run. Let's just do a quick measurement just to see it. I'm sure everybody wants to know, right? So yeah, 257, 258%. Great move, right? So am I the guy that chases this? No way. I don't chase these type of moves. So what would I be looking for? Probably nothing, because I don't think I'm going to be interested in playing this name. I believe that I'd rather play it through Fission Uranium, who owns, I think, about 40%. So, but if I'm going to decide maybe to take a shot at this thing, I'm going to be looking down here in this 13-cent range personally, because traders like to fill gaps, and if I get a gap fill here, maybe I'll do it. Okay, so the United States name, the OTC ticker. Just want to do a little bit of a zoom out here because maybe we have slight arbitrage. Okay, so there are people who look at this stuff like this. Okay, so we have kind of took all that out. It's just trying to see if we have any sort of. Yeah, there's not much here. Um, they're kind of running in lockstep. So the OTC name is, I don't know if it's worth it to chase an OTC name for the arbitrage here on this particular name. So, yeah, it's Fission 3.0. It's an Explorer. They've made some pretty big radioactive hits on their meters. That's that. So let's go to Fission. Okay, so Fission here, again, they own part of 3.0. So and I have a position here, and this is where I would be looking to add as opposed to 3.0. Here's the OTC name. Here's the Canadian name, and they're getting some love out of the run up. Okay, but this is the one that I think I've seen a little bit of an arbitrage here. So this high on the OTC name has not been taken out yet, but they did take it out here. So the Canadian name is running a little bit hotter than the OTC name. So anybody who's an ARB player, it does FCUUF lag and take out this high? I don't know. Is it worth it to even mess with it for 2 cents or whatever? Well, if this thing keeps going, if the Canadian name keeps going, there's a possibility there. So, but while I'm looking at the OTC name here, I have like a cost basis around 48. So I wouldn't mind maybe taking a little average up add and to see what happens here when this gets tested. All right, this is all choppiness, okay? But this is what's going on with these guys. There's a little bit of an ARB here. I don't know if it's going to be attacked by the ARB traders. You could even say it took out this high also. So maybe the ARB is a little bit better because, as you can see on the OTC, this 70 cents, we're 5 cents away from that. So you're almost 10% away, 8% away. This was taken out already on the Canadian name. You might have a little bit of an ARB play here. It's not really something that I'm not really playing this name as a trader. I'm just kind of accumulating, and that's why I say I'd rather see a pullback. But you could see the ARB guys might pick this up and push this up into this high, depending on where the Canadian name goes. Encore Energy. Again, we have the Canadian on the right and the OTC on the left. So Encore had finally made a move. I think everybody's pretty happy about that. Left a gap behind. Okay, so we have a little bit of a gap down here, and we have one here on the OTC, but it's made, there's a significant technical change here, right? So not enough to say, hey, this thing is off to the races. I mean, at this point, we're definitely going to be looking for a pullback and a daily higher low. And I would even say, hopefully, it holds this 220 area on the OTC name. And one would say that it wants to hold this 294. Let me just mark that. So yeah, this 294 we want to be holding here. But yeah, this is a good move on Encore. And as you can see, in Canada, it sold off a bit, right? But in the United States, it did not. And it's testing, again, these highs right here. This high here, and it's here. So it's actually, it took it out, and it was immediate rejection on the Canadian side. And we've got a solid candle here. So it's, we'll see what happens in Canada on Monday with these names. And again, I have a position here. I called this out in the Reddit room the other day, and I wanted to take it because it was a nice little double bottom here. As you can see, this double bottom, and it worked. Lucky us. So whoever followed that, again, I posted again. I took a little bit off here, off of this ad. I have a position already here, but I took a little bit off here, and I'll probably re-add when I start coming down to test this 220 area. So that's it. I mean, for today, things are sideways in the space, and we need to see something happen. Not sure if it does, but for now, over and out.